I'm Donal Keane, and my wife Frederica and I farm here in Summerhill in County Meath. It was a conventional farm way back when we started, tillage, beef, and in 2011 we took the plunge and we went organic, and it's the best thing we ever did. We felt that the conventional system wasn't working for us. All we had at the end of the year was bills. We weren't happy with the amount of chemicals that we were using. We didn't feel that we were farming with nature. We felt we were farming against nature, and we were trying to make nature do things it didn't want to do. So I spoke to a friend, and then did a few farm walks, spoke to other people who were doing organics, and eventually we said, yeah, let's go. So what are we missing out on? Nothing. Bills, chemicals. So we said organic is for us. So what we're doing now is we have suckler cows. So they're Angus cows, herd that we've built up over the years. The Angus suit the organic system really well because they can winter just purely on silage. They don't need a lot of grains. Grains in organics are very expensive. They're really good calvers, they're good mothers, they look after the stock really well. And what we've done in the last 3 years is we've crossed them with a Wagyu bull. So we have a Wagyu bull here now producing higher end beef for an artisan specialised market. So that's the cattle side, and that's a really important side of the operation because that produces the dung that we compost, and then that goes out on the land, and the microbes in there really power the soil on. So in addition to that, then we grow oats for flavins, and we also grow what's called a combi crop. So it's a barley and peas mix, and that's for animal feed. And in the last few years, a good few farmers, particularly from the west of Ireland, have come into the organic system, and the protein feed is a problem in organics. So we have a barley and peas mix, which is high in protein, and that suits what they need. There's a hugely beneficial effect to have peas in the ground. It's the same as clover. So clover and peas are from the same family. They take in nitrogen from the air. So the air that we're breathing at the moment is 74% nitrogen. So I'm always saying to my conventional farmer friends, I can show you how to get free nitrogen, and their ears pick up straight away, and then it's clover or peas, and they go, But so it brings nitrogen through the leaves, down the stalk and into the root. And if you pull out one of those plants, you can actually see tiny little globules of liquid, natural nitrogen in it. And that's there, if you grow that, then that's there for the following crop of oats or wheat or whatever it may be. So we use it in rotations and make sure that the soil is always replenished with whatever it needs. In that particular instance, that would be nitrogen. So it's all about rotations. So the old saying is that nature abhors uniformity. So if you're growing the same crop in the same soil all the time, you're going to get disease, you're going to get pests. So we change it. We don't grow the same crop in the same field any 2 years. Keeps the soil fresh, keeps it healthy, clean, and it produces better crops. In that we decided, okay, we're growing peas already with barley. Let's grow peas without barley and harvest that then for shops. There is a market for this, and all farming is market driven, but there is a market to produce this on a small scale. Supermarkets, artisan shops, etc. are crying out for them. So that is there. It's a matter of people to get their heads around growing something different than a field of barley or a field of wheat or oats or whatever it is, and realise that there are markets. All you have to do is go into your local artisan food store and look in the shelves and look at the label, and if it comes from England or South America or Canada or somewhere, well then, if you can grow it, there's a market. So the machine behind me is it's a grain cleaner or seed cleaner. It's Law Dennis, very well known in the UK. We bought it over there about 5 years ago and we did a bit of work on it. And what it does is you can put in, for example, barley and peas together, interspersed, and it'll sift them out, put the peas out one side and the barley out the other side. Or you could put in some oats to clean seed, to take out the weed seeds, and you'd be amazed how much weed seed comes out. You just think to yourself, goodness, I'd hate to put that back into the sower at the other end. So it's a fantastic machine. It doesn't clean the food grade for human consumption, but it cleans everything out of it in terms of weeds. And here behind me, there's a pile of weeds, seeds, so docks and all sorts of weeds, and you don't really see them as much in the field. If you're a conventional farmer, you certainly would see them, but as an organic farmer, you tend to have a blind spot to weeds. But if you want seed, use your own seed, or to clean for food grade, you really have to go through this process. We have about 350 hens. So my son John built a little hen house when he was in school and had 10 hens, and then a huge upgrade to 16 hens, and started selling eggs to our neighbours. And then we converted a calf rearing shed to a hen layers shed, and we got second-hand nest boxes and all the various equipment. So we have 350 hens producing eggs, and that's a really nice enterprise. It's a lovely enterprise. The hens are there every day. As long as they're well looked after, they do the same thing every day, produce lovely eggs, and then we get to deliver those to some shops in Dublin, so the Fumbally, Dublin Food Co-op, and then some locally, Cult Zero here in Trim, and Lundus down in Summerhill. And then we have a vending machine nearby where you can tap your phone or your card, the drawer opens, you take out your tray of eggs. So it's a lovely enterprise, and it complements the rest of the farming enterprise as well. It's something on a daily basis, weekly basis, whereas the beef and the tillage, it's all comes at the one time, whereas this is going every week. The driver for this whole system, the tillage, the beef, everything, is a compost. Okay, so the compost has to be properly composted. You can't just clean out a shed, leave it in a corner, and then come back a year later. It won't be composted. So it's the turning of the compost. We use a JCB actually, and we just turn a row over from here to here. It's all about getting air in, and that's why we don't stack it too high, so 2 meters max, because if you stack it really high, it just compresses itself down, takes all the air out. So we keep it about 6 feet, about the height of me, and turn it over, same again, and do that 4 or 5 times. And you can see it getting hot, steam coming off it. When steam dies down, some people put in probes, and that's the right way to do it, get temperature exactly correct. But you can do it in a farmyard setting without that. Once the steam is finished coming off it, you can turn it again, and then turn it again, and eventually get to the point where you turn it and there's no steam coming off it. And at that stage, we think it's pretty ready to go. It's black, it's ready to go, and it spreads nearly like powder. You won't have big lumps coming out. It spreads like powder, and 3 weeks later you see the grass just greening up and the crops, everything saying thank you very much. The beef now is sold to a man in Wicklow, John Horrigan. He's Ridgeway Wagyu, and he processes the beef and he sells it in Dubai, London, kind of high-end places there, and also online. So you can go online and look at Ridgeway Wagyu and you can buy the beef there. It's really high quality beef. The animals have to be fed in a particular way. And it's amazing, you know, when the beef processors are saying your animals have to be younger and younger and younger when they're killing them, he wants them older, because it's only after they get to 2 years and on into 3 years that they really lay down the fat. And that was always the way back in the old days. There was very rarely young animals killed. So they lay down the fat at this stage, and the feature of Wagyu beef is it's the fat in the muscle. It makes it really succulent. So we're doing this. We haven't actually sold them anything yet because we started 3 years ago, and now the eldest ones will be ready to kill in the autumn. But so it'll be interesting to see how they work out. We have plans for lots of tree planting here, but not forestry as such, as in not 10 acres or 20 acres of forestry. We're lucky that we have lots of mature trees here, but unfortunately they're nearly all ash, and they're just, it's a time bomb for them. Most of those are not going to survive. So we've been thinking for the last few years how we'd like to get into a planting program, and we were going to plant last winter, but the winter was so wet you could not get out in the fields. So that's been pushed back to hopefully start this coming autumn, and we're going to grow different types of trees, and trees that'll do different things. Some for visual, some for shelter, some for nature, and it's a really important part of the farm. because it is, when we look out over the farm, we don't see the grass as much, we see the trees, and it's lovely to see them winter and summer. So we want to continue that, and we want to develop that. What's here at the moment would have been randomly planted or just seeded itself, but we'd like to do a sort of a program and get planting. For anybody going into organic farming, once you decide what enterprise you want to do, it's really important to have a look at the market. Who's going to buy this produce at the end of the day? Are you going to sell it in a local market? Are you going to supply shops? Or are you going to sell to a processor? So if you're thinking of selling to a processor, whether it's beef, lamb, oats, whatever, have a look at what kind of prices they've been paying over the last few years and see whether that's something suits, bearing in mind you're not going to be buying in as much inputs as you were before. You're going to be trying to produce as much as you can from your own farm. So that's important. On the pea side, that's really the first area where we went deep into researching the market before we actually planted the crop. Because before that, it was oats to Flavins, and it was beef to the processors there. But this is different. These peas are not going to be going to anybody other than the shop directly. So we've done a fair bit of research on that, and it's really important to do that research, because when you go to the trouble of growing it, harvesting it, processing it, and then you realise the price that you get for it is really poor, that's just doing it backwards to me. So we've done a fair bit on that, and going into organics has been great for us. It's made us think about lots of things other than just our organic. We've thinking more about food and nutrition and value and all sorts of things. But somebody said to me recently, well, have you any regrets about organic farming? And I said, yes, I have one big regret. And that's that I didn't go into it 20 years earlier. I'd love to have gone into it when I was in my 20s and get deep into it at that stage, and still can. But I'd say to anybody, once you've done your research, if you're happy to go this road, then get stuck in. You'll love it.